Southeast Texas, hopefully. Okay, let's start. I have a little bit of a back end constraint. I've got family duty at 10:30, and most of you know what that means. But in any event, there's been a lot of good things going. I think Nathan's going to start off,
Sure.
and then I've got a couple of things to say afterwards.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I wanted to start by giving an update on the Swan Lagoon Playground. Work really got going this week on that, and it's really nice. The mayor and I were over there a few times this week with some of the Parks and Rec committee members. The playground structure to the right is just going to be a huge hit with kids in the city.
No question.
And we had to rearrange a couple things as far as placement and location, but everything's been worked out. They should be working through there, I think, most of today. And then there will be some cleanup work to do, but we're really close to having a ribbon cutting ceremony there, and it's going to be a great enhancement to that park. And so, just really excited about that, Mayor. If you wanted to,
I really encourage people to take a look at it. This is our third playground that we've put in here recently. Something I'm really pleased about. But this one, I think, is the best playground equipment yet. It just looks fun. It has great aesthetics for the neighbors. There's a variety, and we made sure that there's going to be this is one of the first parks that actually has an ADA access compliance, so there'll be that. And we also the layout that Nathan was talking about. We wanted to make sure when we fix that path, we're going to is. We want to make sure that it's ADA access too. So that means it's got to be 14 feet wide. We're going to paint it, everything along that line. But I am really pleased with this one. The people who helped design this and the vendor, fantastic.
Yeah. So as soon as we have a date to cut a ribbon, we'll make sure everybody's invited to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to it. Wanted to give you a quick update on code enforcement. We're probably going to talk about that every time we get together. Just in the last week, we've had 19 illegal signs removed from the city. There's been some red tagging for some other things, including some additional.
A little bit louder, I'm hearing.
Oh, a little bit louder. Okay, sorry about that.
Now. A little bit louder now.
My dad visited last week.
Yeah, noticed that. Yeah. Come on, guys. This isn't church.
My dad visited last week, and his hearing's pretty much shot. I hope he's not watching, and so I had to scream all last week. So I'll get back to that. But code enforcement, I'll repeat what I said. We had 19 illegal signs that were pulled by code enforcement just in the last week. We've had some red tagging for some other issues, some additional cars removed that shouldn't be there. And the thing I want to point out the most for what Perry's doing, he has now had contact with about 187 unregistered businesses to get them licensed.
187. Yeah.
So really, really good progress really quickly on that. And he's working his way through the city. So a lot of good early success there. Always want to commend him for what he's doing. And I think that, the business licenses is very important, obviously, but there's also going to be a lot of things happening that you're going to visually see a difference. So he's doing good work out there. Anything you want to add to that?
I'll add two things. Is the intent for Officer Henderson is also to make sure the businesses keep up with their property. Right now, we're going after the things where the licenses, which is I think it's just shy of $10,000 that's been collected just in the time frame there. So this position is paying for itself, which is really nice. Was the thing going on, but they're also going to make sure that painting, all the things along that line, which really help our commercial district pop, as I like to say, so that it's there and looks sharp and looks new, because it is new. We need to keep up with it in a lot of areas. So that's going to happen. The other is I'm really focusing on 18410 Kingstown Court. I believe we're going to be having an inspection so that we can see the relative progress relative to the contract. We've got about 2 months, so according to my clock, left for them to finish. And I don't want to wait till the end because I haven't seen much work beyond what I originally communicated when early on, and it means they're going to have to do a whole lot of work fast, in my opinion. I haven't been in there recently, but I don't want that to come to the end and then us not know what the situation is. So we're going to be meeting with their contractor and doing an inspection and just again flange it up relative to the contract.
Yeah, our building official is actually visiting the site today, and we'll be following up with a meeting with the contractor. So should see some progress there soon. Wanted to talk about Public Works a little bit. I always like to highlight a few of the things they're working on. They're always very busy, as you know. We had 2 water leaks yesterday, Nassau Bay Drive and Barbuda, so that's still happening. But they were able to get those fixed up yesterday, had service restored by the end of the day. They've been working really hard at Founders Park to clear some brush that's going to help that park look a little bit more pleasing in terms of views of the water. So they've been working hard over there. And they're still coordinating our annual street improvement project. There's a couple streets left to go, but that'll be wrapping up soon.
They've marked them if you haven't seen that. Yeah. There's the spots that they're going to do.
Yep. And then if you visit Howard Ward Park, please take note of the new trail that's been put down there. Getting a lot of really good friendly comments from residents on that. So we're excited about that. 45 tons of crushed granite was installed there last week. And if you use that trail, you may have noticed that the edges were worn. There were grass and weeds were starting to overtake it. It's completely fixed. And so I wanted to really thank them for that. We've heard a lot of good things, and that's a really nice improvement to that park. So we're excited about what's going on over there. The damaged boardwalk on Upper Bay, as you know, that's been fenced off since September 15th when we had that flooding event. It wasn't a hurricane.
It wasn't even a tropical storm.
To me, it looked like a hurricane, but that was a mistake. We had some really good conversation. We had an Economic Development Corporation meeting this week, and we talked about that boardwalk specifically. And so we should have formal quotes in hand any day, possibly even today, to get that damaged part repaired. But the EDC also suggested that we take a look at the entire boardwalk because there's some structural issues there that we want to make sure don't become bigger problems. And so we're going to be assessing that, all of it, from start to finish, but focusing first on getting the what needs to be broken repaired, which will be done hopefully very soon. So be on the lookout for that to be worked on soon. Did you want to comment?
Yeah, just I'm really worried about it. I'm the one who really pushed for the study to be done on our bulkheads. I think everyone knows my focus has been on underground and streets and beautification, and I was just kind of crossing my fingers about the bulkheads. It's been 30 years since we've looked at our bulkheads, and this was, I think, just a shot across the bow. I think we're going to find that we've got some major work here, and it's going to be a challenge for us as how we do that. And I'm hoping those tiebacks hold for at least another 2 years if we can. But it's a shot across the bow. So.
I want to mention Fall Sweep coming up next week. Always a big day here in the city. So that's going to be Saturday, November 4th. It's going to start at 8:30 and go to 11:30 or noon, I think. The Parks and Recreation Committee and Keep Nassau Bay Beautiful will be hosting that event. There's going to be pizza, popcorn, bounce houses, lots of work around the city. Councilman Waterwall is going to oversee address painting on curbs. So there's going to be a lot of fun things happening. If anybody's able to participate or wants to help out, please let us know or reach out to Councilwoman Michelle Weller. She's been the point of contact for that event. And when you get the Compass Rose, which should be out in a few days, there's a big feature on that event if you're interested in learning more about it. Also, event tomorrow that I want to mention from 10 to 2, which is going to happen right here at City Hall. The police department is partnering with the DEA to allow an opportunity for people to get rid of potentially dangerous, unused, expired, or no longer wanted prescription drugs. So if you know anybody who could benefit from that service, to just bring those, drop them, no questions asked, and have those discarded. That's going to be here in the parking lot of City Hall tomorrow from 10 to 2. And so that's a good partnership our police department's doing in the community, and hope that people will take advantage of that if they need to take advantage of that. So please remember that, 10 to 2 tomorrow. And please help us spread the word if you know anybody who might be able to utilize that. And one other thing I wanted to mention, it's going to be on the front of the of the Compass Rose, you'll see it. We have Veterans Day coming up in a few weeks, and I'm probably jumping the gun a little bit, but I don't know that we're going to have another one of these between now and then. But I just wanted to highlight and thank our staff members and our city officials who are veterans. We feature them in the next edition. That's Councilman Waterwall, Paul Lopez, Cheney Honeycutt, Moses Velasco, Jarrell Crowder, Dusty Wortman, and James Green. We really appreciate their service to the country and to the city, and we look forward to celebrating all of our veterans here in a couple of weeks. But be sure to take a look at that. I thought that was a nice thing to highlight them with the holiday coming up soon. So those were the main things I had in there.
Yeah, I'll add some things. For the painting of the streets, I believe Chase has, or Councilman Waterwall, finished up Queens Court, and they're looking at turning the corner and going down Point Lookout. And they're wanting to do a very long straightaway so they can get as much as possible. So heads up, if you're there, you're gonna see there. And there will also be, I believe, a number of CCISD students that are going to be helping. And I think they're going to do a little bit of a assembly line where they're going to start off and just paint all the white, and then other people are going to come back and actually do the numbers. So they really want to keep on a contiguous path from where they started, so that it all looks improved and rejuvenated as we go. The other is you mentioned about the things coming up. We're in a period of time where we've had so many events going on, and I have to give a shout out to the Special Events Committee for the Halloween in the Park. I understand that was really well done. I think they took the right course of action when we had about 1,000 people, kind of like when it was on our web page, so they canceled it, and it was a much more subdued, still a very great turnout. And the kids had a great time. They did a great job. But we also had the Cunningham 5K for Walt Cunningham, who was a citizen and working with that. We also had the kayak. That's what I was doing. That's exactly the paddle event, which I could tell it was a success because we had the Nassau Bay Knights last night, and there were several people who participated, and they said they got to meet an old friend called Rigor Mortis. That they had used things that they really felt their muscles when they did that. So, it just goes to show just how hard and how many volunteers we have, and they really make the city run.
So a shout out to Public Works and the Police Department, not Public Works, but the Fire Department. And so they were there at sunrise as we got started with the Nassau Bay Safety Boat. And at the end of the day, I ended up walking down to the park with my dog to the Halloween party, and they were still working.
Yeah, they did.
So they put a yeoman's job in that day, and it must have been a 15, 20-hour day for them.
Had to be.
Yeah. Good job.
Hey Phil, what was the turnout for the Halloween in the park?
So I don't know if somebody's at Cheney's looking. If you remember, I had a funeral I was at, so I was not there personally. I just heard from other people about it. So it was. I think it was what I heard was 200-300.
I was thinking maybe in the 300 range. I was there. It was nice. It was large, but it wasn't too large, and everybody seemed to have a really nice time.
And
This was the first year that they had charged for like the Italian ice and the Chick-fil-A. And
interesting.
Shannon bought 2 little things of Italian ice, and they cost her $14 plus tax. Whoa. And bless her heart, she didn't know until she got up there and she had ordered and she saw the little sign price.
Yeah.
That was a hefty amount.
That's good impact, because I always like those being provided. The city probably should have picked that up. So
It was like, but it was fun, and there were lots of, and our city manager was there.
I know.
I was, yeah.
I followed him around by his arm and introduced him.
I hear he was a judge.
I was a judge, yes. I
I
judged the
heard,
contest, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I noticed he's driving a new car today.
No.
It was a good event.
We tried to be very careful when we were judging to cover our mouths so that we didn't upset anybody because everybody deserved to win, but that was a lot of fun. And I appreciate you introducing me to a lot of people.
I don't want to upset those mothers.
No, not at
You will
But
not live to tell about it.
all. Right.
I really do want to give a shout out to the special events because they listened. I mean, last year we had so many people come out, so many people from outside the community. I know our fire department, Tom George, just as well as the chief had no way to get emergency vehicles in. It was a problem. So I really appreciate people listening to the community. I think they had a great event. I thought it was the perfect size. And I saw a lot of I mean, I didn't see, but I've heard a lot of people say that there was just a lot of Nassau Bay kids there, which is great.
The only comment I'd make is, after I went to Mass, I says, I'm going over to Halloween Park. Going down Martinique. Both sides of Martinique, cars are parked.
Yeah.
There is only one way to get in. You literally had to push to the side if a car was coming the other way. And when I finally made it to the end, I took one look, hung a left, and went home. Parking was at least 3 blocks away.
Wow.
And they had, the entrance to the park was blocked,
Yeah.
so they could control.
Did you see if where they're on the left side where our parking lot was that full?
Yes, it was full.
It was full.
At 5:45 when we went down here, they had it blocked because the parking lot was full.
Yeah. Yep. So even 300 has challenges.
And
Okay.
I'm going, no emergency vehicle. Forget about a fire truck. Could not make it through.
They were already in there, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, if they had to go to.
Yeah, but if there was a fire, is what you're saying, it would have been
Yeah.
troublesome.
Yeah.
It would have been
Yeah,
troublesome.
parking would have been.
We may want to look at putting cones out for some areas
Yeah.
because it's all going to be down at that end.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. That's good feedback.
The new bridge was
For
accessing the park, that was full on that side, the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, yeah.
That whole area was full of us.
How about that new bridge?
So we might want to think about some other way to get in and out.
Or just putting up cones where people can't park and just spread it out.
Park on one side of the street.
Yeah,
not the
something,
other.
something like, exactly.
Our Nassau Bay guys have the EMS and fire station.
Something
Interior, but.
because there's really only, it's either up Upper Bay, up Martinique, or over there by Point Lookout by Founders Park. So it's those are the areas.
And if you put out cones, there's some new people that have cones at their house.
They pick them up and move them.
Isn't that special?
And they pick them up.
They found buddies, huh?
Yeah.
So,
They found a new cone.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
okay, thank
It
you.
was a very good event.
With Halloween color. The cones are
Yes.
Halloween color.
Orange.
Yes.
You can use them in your decoration.
That's all I have.
Have they had anything over at the new brain trauma center? Is it finished?
They had a
Yeah. So I think it was last Wednesday, they had a ribbon cutting opening.
You didn't invite me?
I'm sorry.
I
It
thought
wasn't my
I
event.
thought it was Thursday. Yeah, I thought it
Wednesday or
was-
Thursday,
it was
I'm not
Thursday,
sure.
'cause I flew out.
Middle of last week, and I was invited and got to tour it, and it's a beautiful facility. They do not have patients there yet. Last week was what they were referring to as a soft opening, and so they're transitioning staff there now. Huge facility, very, very nice. I believe they have 40 different rooms. They have a hotel area for families to stay who are visiting patients. Fantastic facility. So that is opening. They do have staff there, and they'll have patients there really soon. But yeah, that was just middle of last week. They had an event.
A bunch of us had gone to the original groundbreaking,
Okay.
and they said, oh no, you'll all be invited.
Oh, I'm sorry.
to the open house.
This was
Okay.
a soft opening.
Yeah, I
Soft
think-
opening.
I think they're-
Ribbon cutting.
Yeah, this was not a very large event. There wasn't a lot of people there, and so I think they're going to do something else later. But yeah, this was it was a nice opportunity to see it, and I wasn't around when they got their permit back in 2020, but it's been a long process. Those are tough years, to go through that type of a project. And so to see it culminate like that is really nice. When you go over there, you'll be impressed.
Hey Nathan, so how many employees does that bring? When the last we had before your time, Phil had the director of the program came and give the city council an update. I think it was 250 employees that they were targeting then.
Correct, because it's full 3 shifts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
So what's the number they gave you?
I don't know that we discussed a number of total employees, but that number would be what I would expect based on what they showed us.
Are you going to put an update in the Compass Rose?
we'll find out. We'll find out the number, because if I remember, Pete, and I remember that number too, but that was when before they upsized. If you remember, they went. It took a really long time to build that building, because the first design they were there, they had done the, what I call going to a brownfield where they had all their things there, and then they stopped, paused for 6 months, and came back with an upgraded size. So I believe it's going to be every bit of 250.
Yeah, I knew they were getting close, but like Pauline Birkin, I was waiting for an announcement on a ribbon cutting, and
They said, make sure Pete's not there.
And apparently my other 1,200 homeowners.
It looks real pretty though.
It does. They've done a good job compared to what was there before. No contest. No contest.
So Phil, it's going to be for traumatic brain injury, is that correct?
It is. I mean, the history that I was told, and it's really fascinating, is that one of the Moody children, a boy, I believe, a very young boy, was in a car accident, and I guess was not properly seat belted or whatever, and I believe hit the windshield and had a very traumatic, unrecoverable brain injury, permanent. And the Moody family, given the experience that they had trying to find proper care for individuals that have that, to not only deal with it, but any kind of recuperation, was almost non-existent.
Yeah.
So the Moody family has bellied up, and they've endowed, they've put in the facilities, they've gotten the expertise, and they've done a really commendable job of seeing a gap in a community need for children, particularly, not totally, but it's for traumatic brain injuries.
That's a big deal, because there's a lot of accidents. My wife had one too, and I remember going through the process of trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah. So it's a real need, and they've put major money up. It's that level of financial commitment is, just impressive. So they've done it. They've done it first class.
To move from Galveston up here to be more centrally located in Houston, is that kind of what I remember?
I've not heard why. I think what they saw was, just looking at a proper area. I think, if I remember, they really liked the idea of being by the water, and having it kind of, quiet and things along that line. I think Galveston was a little bit too, busy. That's a good way of saying it. But I'm speculating here. So I'm only inferring what they had talked about.
They do have a few other locations, but this is their headquarters. This is their new headquarters.
They have one in Lubbock.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's a nonprofit.
It is.
Yes.
It is very much nonprofit.
And
But they do
also
take
have-
water.
Sorry.
They do take water. They're a big water consumer. So.
It's the water.
Yeah.
And bulkheads and boardwalks. I'm really glad to hear you mention the bulkhead, and I'm still trying to find out from Officer Henderson who owns the property, the berms at the end of our canal.
Yeah,
on Upper Bay Road.
I haven't.
Because it could make
We'll find that out today
Okay.
for you,
It
Becky,
could make a
because
big
that's just a map. I believe it's part. Yeah, it's homeowners.
I think so.
It's home, because I remember back with Allison, I walked all the properties and the perimeters to see about how high our berms, and when we looked at how we had to build up those berms to the 6 foot height, that area we had to work with homeowners because it was not a city. It was city paid to do that, but we had to work with each and every homeowner on every one of those.
Big difference if you have to start repairing bulkhead,
Yeah,
whether the city pays for it or the homeowner.
no question, no question.
So, and I'm really happy you're working on the boardwalk, and I think that's a perfect opportunity to be checking your bulkhead at the same time.
Yep, I agree.
I appreciate that very much.
I agree. It's
I don't want.
I shudder to hear.
I know.
I mean, I think I know what I'm going to hear, but
Terribly.
it's
But I don't
oh.
want the bulkhead at the end of my canal that I live on to collapse into the water.
I think going rates are about 30,000 per 100 linear foot. Just to put this into perspective. Now, it may be better if you have a much longer one. We get some, but last I heard, it's $30,000 per 100 linear foot.
60 feet wide.
Yeah.
So is that a homeowner's, or is it a joint between the city and the homeowner?
Well, there's
I think
actually there's very clear areas of city ownership and there's very clear areas for homeowners. I don't think there's ambiguity. I mean, it's pretty well laid out from what I remember. And I think, I hate to say it, but I think actually, except for a couple of places, the citizens have been more attuned to putting in and making sure their bulkheads are intact than we as a city. And we, like I said, if you don't do the preventative stuff and don't do it, maintenance becomes a project. I have a feeling we're going to have a big project here. But that's my worry. So one thing I don't want to miss, because you mentioned about Public Works. If you've noticed, tree trimming has started, and they're doing a really good job. And it's going to go. They're taking sections at a time, and they've only just begun. And they're also, I think, Paul's looking at people to do painting. So. You're going to see some of the attentions to detail now that we've gotten some of the bigger things done, things that I think just make a community look manicured, and I think we should have a manicured community.
Hey, Phil, can you give us some more specifics on the tree trimming? Did we contract that out?
We did.
What streets are going to be targeted
You
first?
may
How
know.
much? How much are we, investing on that, and what's the timeline? Since we're way behind, right? It's been years.
Yeah. So right now they're focusing on commercial areas, and they're going to move into residential areas after that. The goal is to make sure that the trees are just in compliance with the ordinance. So anything that would be 14 feet within 14 feet of a street or any sort of public infrastructure is being trimmed. And so they're starting commercial areas, moving to residential areas. I don't know the exact number, what it's going to cost from start to finish. I'll follow up with you on that. But it has been contracted out. It was planned a while back and finally getting it started, and it's going to continue.
It was consciously delayed because we heard from a number of different arborists that with the severe drought that we were having, to put any kind of additional stress was, they said, just wait until the water hits. And they were targeted for October, and they've started here mid-October. So that's.
Big City is also trimming theirs.
I saw that.
Walker,
I saw that.
I mean, they're trimming like,
You look at Sarah Deal, they've done that. That looks really nice.
Yeah.
It just has a canopy look, and it looks really nice. And I also somebody told me that Webster was outdoing us on trees with like palm trees. If you look at those palm trees, those are Mexican fans. They're not going to get any bigger. They don't compare to our jewels. So
but Webster will take
no
care of
competition.
lots.
No competition.
They can afford to buy whatever they want.
Yeah, but I'm surprised they put in Mexican fans. Those will not get very big. They're only going to get about as big as they are. Maybe a foot or two higher, but not really. Those are mature. So I'm sorry.
No, that's all I have.
Anything else? Yeah.
Question, you mentioned EDC. Are the EDC meeting notices posted?
They are.
Okay, I haven't seen them on the main city page.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, they're.
A minute ago, I looked to see what minutes were available, and the last set of minutes posted on the website was a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I know prior to coming in, the EDC didn't meet that frequently. We're obviously changing that, so I'll look into that, Glenn. Those should be up.
Yeah, the meeting on Monday, it was posted physically downstairs. It was on our website. It was on the city calendar. We are behind on minutes. I actually have some you need to sign.
Yeah,
before
no,
we
I
leave.
figured.
We've got
I
two sets
heard.
that'll be up soon. And so, yeah, that meeting was posted everywhere. It should be, but we're looking for ways to also make sure some of that's easier to find online. But yeah, it was posted.
I got one other one. The house under construction, I think it's 18202 Pennsylvania.
Yeah, the first one on the right.
Greenhouse.
The greenhouse.
Discussions, I've had some email discussion with Sarah about expiration of building permits.
Yeah.
Apparently, our code doesn't cover that.
It does not.
Does not.
Does not.
And the state code, or state law does cover it.
My understanding, yeah. Keep going though. I've got a
There's
comment
like,
too.
I think recalling what it says construction has to commence 100 days after issue of permit.
We have that.
And you're allowed to, if you stop more than 180 days, stop working.
We have that
to
too.
Go back.
Yeah. We haven't enforced that, but we have that too.
Okay.
What we don't have is.
The overarching concern is the greenhouse.
Yeah.
Which has been sitting there for probably
Well,
2 years, if not longer.
So two things I'll say here is, I apologize for,
Mhm.
One, we don't have a end date on our ordinance, and we should. When that brought up, and Sarah was the person who highlighted that, I agree with her. I think that is something we should have as in our ordinance. I do know that the homeowners association has an end date. And if you look at it, they've been they've started to be aggressive in the compliance to having homes get finished. So we're seeing that, but I'd like us as a city to do that also, because I think it's just a good practice. And you know me, I think there's a lot of ordinances that we really need to be a little bit more of a horse's patoot and start, citing people and start using the things, because I believe there was in a broad majority of ours are just some basic fundamental good policies towards how to be a good citizens and what's required to be a good citizens, and we should make sure we reinforce or enforce that behavior. Personal opinion.
Yeah, the mayor and I just spoke a day or two ago about the 180 days, and
Correct.
we're going to be looking internally at permits that may be outside of that right now to see if we need to do follow-up on certain projects. And I'm guessing the one you mentioned might
I think there's one and then one on the other side of the community. Yes. Enough said, right?
Any update on that?
Yeah.
Because it does.
He gave it before she got.
Yes. Yeah, correct. So no, I'll just say this: there's a contract in place, and there is.
Wasn't the deadline for that October?
No, it's actually, and I'll say this is there was some confusion or just not Christmas in our own our building department. So a actual permit didn't get let until I believe mid-June, I believe it is. You can get the exact date. And they basically have, I believe, 150 days, but they also have rain days. So it's really 6 months. So it's going to expire here. I'm going to call it the second half of December. And what I mentioned here earlier, Gail, is we're having the building department, they're going to do an inspection and then sit down with a contractor and look at flanging up where they're supposed to be versus where they are. Because I don't want to wait till, Christmas to all of a sudden pick up the pieces. This has been one that's been I've taken some real personal effort here, and I just don't want to see it, end up not having the outcome that we want.
Yeah,
So we're doing it preemptively.
Our building official is actually visiting today to look at
Yes.
that, and then there will be a meeting set up after his inspection.
Yeah.
I'm curious if our permit costs more if you let yours expire and then you go back in.
I don't believe there's a
No, I
differentiation.
don't think so.
There should be.
You're right. I agree with that. but it's, I don't believe that's,
Because I think there are a lot of people that sit around and say, hey, I'll go get that
yeah,
permit. I'll just wait, I'll
yeah.
apply for a permit.
You know, and again, anything that reinforces the proper way to be a good citizen, I think is, you know, effort well taken, personal opinion.
Well, and I think we talk about the homeowners association, and we're so different in our operation throughout the city as a
Mhm.
homeowners association. So I think the city has a responsibility not to depend on the homeowners associations. But I know in Swan Lagoon, the homeowners association wasn't even notified. So how do they, when they finally were aware they were in so much violation, they're like, well, you don't have any authority. But we have to be sure that the building department is notifying the homeowners
Correct.
association so that they can interact.
I actually, again, personally, and I think you're gonna find there's going to be a modification to our ordinance if I have my way, is I believe that building permits, construction, public safety, compliance to code, things like that, is a city function. I do not believe that is a homeowners association. They can help in certain things, but when I look at a driver versus a passenger in that effort, I believe the city should be the driver. Personal opinion. You may actually have a vote on that.
Like Paula says, thinking about, I've spoken a lot about generators. I would like to see when the city gets an application for a permit on a generator, for them to let the HOA know that they've got this permit for this generator, so the HOA can also inform these people there are rules that the HOA has.
I think it's a great idea.
To add something to you, the HOA is aware of the generators. In fact, they are charging for a permit, and I've seen them. And I even know one house that's getting it. So the HOA is on top of it, providing people are going to the HOA.
The notification.
What I would say here is, and maybe this will bring it all together, the generator ordinance as well as the homeowners is what I call fresh paint. It's just recently been painted and published, and they're now learning to do things. So I think there's a lot of attention here, but people are just learning how to incorporate this in all they do. So
I'm just happy to see the city and the HOA work together.
Because
if the city issues a permit for a generator, there are certain specifications, very few, that they have to answer to the city. But these same people need to know that's not going to suffice. The HOA's got a whole other list of rules that they've got to match before they can get it permitted by the HOA.
Yeah.
So it's like if the city could say, hey, but this doesn't.
In the past,
talk to the HOA.
In the past, there's been resistance for the permitting process to include the homeowners buy-off for that. I've never really understood that. I think we're better together than we are apart. And I'd love to see, I'd love to see that we actually would have, as part of the final approval of a permit, compliance and understanding of the homeowners thing.
Very good. If you
I would
put
really
that
like
into
to see
effect,
that.
that's very good.
I mean, we found that just in some of the things we've gotten, I think as the pendulum has swung, we've gotten to be a little bit too, we're too casual. And, so from that standpoint, it was kind of sectioned out without a real thought of the process to how to make sure controls are there. And those controls are actually there to really make sure that the community doesn't end up getting in, so that neighbors don't get in fights, because if it's arbitrary or ambiguous, it's a problem. I mean, I don't know else how to say it other than it's a problem. And we need to make sure that everyone's aware of the rules of the game and the way in which we can control it and give oversight.
To add to that, on all the houses that are being elevated, I haven't had that experience. Pete has, when we applied and were accepted, and the permits were issued from the city, they also said, you need to be in compliance with the HOA, that it's not going to.
So I mean, that's a great analogy of how it should work, because
And the contractors are well aware of that.
Yeah,
and they're not gonna
Again,
work
yeah, I
around
mean, that was done. We've actually had that process, and we should just try to plagiarize that because of two things. One is, the homeowners going into the future may have more stroke than the cities in some areas. So making sure that they comply with homeowners things, I think is going to be good policy for the city. Just because and second is that's one where, the city notifies the homeowners association. They have a process that kicked off for everything around architectural review and things along that line. And it works really well. It works really well.
As
So,
long as the city notifies the homeowners.
yeah, correct.
And
Communication,
either way, we'll
right?
check in
Yeah.
with the city.
Those are really, really.
So
good.
Phil, would Perry Henderson be the ideal person to bridge between the city and the various HOAs?
Eventually.
Because otherwise, who's gonna do it? It's not gonna get done.
I actually believe that's the end game, not the beginning of the game. Because you got to you got to coordinate and have the proper, triggers of things along that.
Ideally, it would be a building inspector, but we don't have a building inspector still, correct?
And just,
We're
and
subbing out still.
yeah, but we kind of, I'm gonna grab that one. That's a good front man there, Pete. We've had a horrendous time finding a permanent, employee in this location. And I'm going to tell you from me being, because everyone knows I deal a lot with people who do construction or operations and things along that line. We've got less than a 2 square mile city. We're built out. If you look at somebody who wants a career in this area and wants to be well paid, it's not going to be us. So I actually believe Nathan was right in regards to saying, okay, let's find a very good pool resource where we get one guy who's dedicated to us, but he's not full time, but even still, even half time or whatever, but of somebody who's really qualified that will do things, will be much better served as a city. So I think it doesn't mean we won't continue looking for one, but I think we're going to be hard pressed. And I'm sorry, and I know Paul, we've had some real mistakes with people who have not been, I should say, as skilled in this position as they should be. And those mistakes are going to end up being either lawsuits or something the city has to fix. And I really would rather have, a outsource of skilled pool people that get to know our city than continue to have to deal with resourcing and the turnover of a spot that probably doesn't make sense, that we just can't compete. That's where I'm coming from, folks. If you have a different experience, I'm all ears, but I think we've run this course, and I think we're paying the price for it, and I want to fix it.
Well, and just back to the homeowners association, we have so many, and they've also felt like, our homeowners association was told, we don't enforce homeowner rules, we don't association rules, we don't have to answer your questions, we don't know anything about that. And so a lot of our homeowners throws up their hands and said, well, we don't make a difference, why operate? So I think as we strengthen their policies, their solutions, they will come to a more working position if they know it makes a difference. If it doesn't make a difference,
I was going to say this earlier too. There's still pent up resistance on the homeowners association that the city will take over, right? It even played out a little bit here where the Economic Development Corporation made an effort to help repair the marina so they can have that business and be more viable. And some of the back and forth about how the city was going to get them on this, that, or the other without information was just we've got some communication and things like that to make sure people don't think that the city's trying to get rid of a homeowners association, because that's just what we need them. Where they've got more power in the area, and my position with things at Austin. Austin's not backing off and trying to restrict the power of home rule cities, and I'm very much against that.
So that comes out of Austin. You're talking about what portion of Austin? The state legislature?
Yeah, the state legislature.
Okay. And that's not
and the governor.
That's not the short-term rentals you're talking about.
That's a plank within there. It's one of them, right? whether it's short-term rentals, and I'll just do another one, curfews. And even though that's not a really big issue, I mean, we have things. Why is a legislature in Austin saying that the curfew for Nassau Bay versus the curfew of Katy versus the curfew in downtown Houston, that's a curfew in the third ward or the curfew in Lubbock, all has to be identical to this? That's absolutely crazy. And it's going to change. I don't know how it's going to, but they're going to take a bridge too far, and a lot of people are going to get upset. You can tell I am already. I think this is just an incursion where, and you know me, I get soapy sometimes, and I get on my soapbox, and I believe our founding fathers always said the local government is really what should be the closest to the people, not state, not federal. And this is an area, and I apologize, I'm taking into your time.
No, it's your
But it's something I'm pretty passionate about. There's no reason to be involved in anything like that. None.
It's an opportunity for Nathan with his experience in working with the legislative bodies in other areas that you worked in, that you can incorporate that.
Sure. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Hopefully give voice.
Mhm.
Or,
Yeah, I think the cities all over the state have to be vocal, and they have to have somebody serving as a liaison to relay concerns. And so certainly comfortable.
I saw at the TML that we attended that there's the very beginning of what I consider really grassroots organization of home rule cities just to address this. So that's not going to happen tomorrow because it's starting, and this pendulum is going to swing the other way because it makes no sense from a public safety standpoint. And I use just an obvious example like curfew. Makes no sense for make sure the public safety to say everybody has to be the same across the state.
But down at the bottom line, it's still one vote. You're voting for your representative in the legislature, and you need to know if he's against or she's against home rule, or if she's more supportive of local control. Because when you go to the polls and choose your person, pretty quickly here, it matters. And we each have a responsibility to vote and to know what the platform is about.
And I want to expand on that one vote because it's not just the one vote there. I was shocked that legislation around more curtailing of home rule areas failed by only one vote. It was that close on things for like densification and things like that. They want to set, just like they had with curfews, they want to set up where they want to have an average densification goal for everybody across the state uniformly, so that if you're not as densified, it means it'll allow people to put up a third structure in your yard that you can put out for short-term rental. State legislature, and we wouldn't be able to fight it.
why do they have to get involved?
Exactly. I spoke up. I was really upset, and I'm trying to see if I can be a representative on this task force because it makes no sense to have that happen.
You have a lobby group.
Yeah, I mean, and people may not know this. I mean, we had like the Uniform Development Code, which was actually part of the groups that are doing that, had densification, and we killed that because of that one item there was it would allow a third structure in any home as long as you had a certain, below a certain density that would allow people to build that structure, even though that's not what we bought into, and that got killed, but the state now may enforce it, and I'm really scared. I'm really, don't believe that's the right path to go at all, and particularly for our community because we're built out. That'll change everything.
If I can go back,
Sorry, guys.
No, I just wanted to go back to the conversation about the building official and the building department. Obviously, we're adapting to the situation and evaluating it and keeping our options open, but I've heard some people comment that you can only get an inspection once a week. That's not correct. If you hear of anybody struggling to schedule anything, please get in touch with me personally, because as long as an inspection is requested, usually by about 3:00 the day before, they can usually get here the next day. And so we're trying to keep an eye on that, but please let me know. if you hear of issues with getting inspections scheduled, because we should be able to work those things out.
So Nathan, is our official policy now, we are not doing a search for a building inspector. We are going to continue now with contracting that out.
That's the situation at this point. We don't have a job posted for a building official, but we may reevaluate that if we're not pleased with the way this unfolds. We always have the option of seeing what's available, but like the mayor mentioned, it's a really hard position to fill right now. This city in particular, because of, again, some things the mayor mentioned, but even other cities are having a really hard time. And so you're seeing larger cities share building officials or hire firms often to handle this because just of the lack of people who are entering that profession and staying in that profession. And so that's our position now, but we're going to keep looking at it and evaluating it as we go.
So where do we stand on upgrading our live stream capabilities?
Good question.
I know we had the joint meeting back in January when we sunsetted the committee.
Yeah.
It's supposed to go out.
So I'm just going to be blunt here. I'm a real. If you remember, I wanted us to go into the direction of upgrading because this obviously has major limitations, and I think it came back that it was about $50,000 for the equipment, about $40,000 for that, but they were going to do a RFQ or RFP. I don't believe that's been run, Brian, and we've talked. That's going to be coming up because I don't believe the desire to have more live streaming is going to get less. I think it's going to get more, and I think as people get busy and do things, and I'd even say this without, and I know I'm going to hear about it, as demographics continue to move forward, where people who have grown up in the digital world, it's going to become more and more of a need, not just a want. Personal opinion.
It's really.
The only thing I find an issue with it is sound quality.
Yeah.
Well, I've also heard with different things where, and we're going to look at this is just being able to have a view of the city council room. You know, sometimes it gets fixed on one person, sometimes it goes to who's talking, sometimes it doesn't. So it's kind of, the owl's kind of got a brain of its own. So it's we gotta figure it out.
One time someone opened up a bag of chips on the dais on that side, and people were speaking over here and the camera.
Yeah, it went over. And so
Yeah.
we're gonna try to work this and maybe push a couple of buttons and see what we can do. Or either that, or we're gonna get a 9-year-old in here to help us.
Yeah. At the county I worked in previously, we dealt with some similar situations where we had a camera system where any slight movement, it was like a jolt, and people were getting like uncomfortable watching the live stream because of all the back and forth. And it took a bit of time and effort to get that fixed. And then several years ago, I was managing a village where we actually had a guy come in with his own equipment every month, and he set up and handled the whole live streaming for us. So like the mayor said, we're going to be looking at all the options to improve it. It's much better now than it was 5-6 years ago in terms of what you can do, but it's going to be a little process to get it done.
I know we have at least 50, almost 60,000.
Say that again. I want you to. You're right. You've been the one pushing that, and I agree. I'll say it's because it's easier for people here to hear. We've got funds that are provided by Comcast, Xfinity or whatever you want to call it, that allows for the public broadcasting of government municipal, activities, of which all of this applies to those funds. So we actually have the ability to pay for these outside of our own personal property taxes, which I believe is what you were highlighting.
Yeah, and I said, I think a year or so ago, we had a little over 50,000, so.
It's got to be more.
As people pay their monthly bills,
Correct.
It just goes up and up.
Correct. And I think one of the things here, and I'm gonna throw a block because this is an area I'm just being honest, it just has not progressed. We had the cyber attack, and I know Tom is the one who's the IT guy doing the stuff there. He's been completely absorbed on that end of it, and he was the one who was going to structure the RFP, RFQ. And he's obviously had a higher priority, and that's not a good excuse, but that's really what's happened.
Yeah. Well,
Honestly.
And as we upgrade our system on the on the infrastructure end, you got to know what you're getting in the back room first before you can.
And Tom raised a really good issue now that I'm hearing is that at the time of the system, and forgive me, I can't remember, you usually remember what it is that we landed on that had the actual recording and the stuff like that.
Yeah, it was a company out of Dallas.
Do you remember the name, Brian? Swagit. That's exactly right. You always remember that. But they required, if you got the equipment, that you had to have their software. And if you didn't pay for their software, the equipment won't work with other people's software. So he thought by doing an RFP, he thinks there's other competitors that don't take that strategy. And Swagit is just, was first or the biggest, so that they kind of just do what they want to do. And we wanted to see about how we could get around that.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah,
and I still,
you just tell them what time the meeting is or
Yeah.
if anything, and then they have someone in Dallas or wherever their headquarters is these days, they just go in and push a button and you're up and running.
You're up and running. And what I really liked about that system, and because even here we talked about minutes, is that they have a audio to written transcript, which means we get people out of this listening and having to transcribe by hand. That is one of the most that's even less value added, even though the output is very value added, but that, have to have somebody do that is like guys reading water meters. I mean, it's just not a good use of people's time. Personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the way we are right now, broadcasting through YouTube, you can get you can click on the closed captioning and it's a little AI generated thing will come up, and unfortunately with more southern accents, it doesn't translate the words
One of the things Nathan also,
Speak English.
one of the things Nathan, I give him credit here, is coming in and if you remember, I always like cold eyes views when you kind of get into a group thing, you kind of do things, but he believes, and I agree with him, that we need more IT resources, not less. That again, the sophistication of the people who attacked us is going to get greater, not less. And we got to make sure we run with that, as well as get the tight things here.
So what's in the budget then pertaining to that for 24? Anything, or we kind of shifting this to 25 now?
No,
That was 50,000.
that's what I was going to say. I think there's $50,000 in there because we got 50 here, so we have 100,000, so we can get the whole suite.
And we're actively exploring options right now.
Yeah, it's in the budget.
What's the schedule for Flock?
Operational within 6 weeks is what we believe.
Yep.
So we're about 6 weeks away from that being here.
So
Thank you for raising that.
Cameras will go where? I mean, 3 majors?
No. I want it. So what I'd like to see, and then we talked about this, is every major entrance into Nassau Bay. So let me put it this way: Nassau Bay Drive, Point Lookout, Upper Bay, Hospital Drive. I don't even know if we do Hospital Drive over there, but I mean, these are cheap for the cameras. They were cheap, all the way, was it Lazy Lake and I forget what's Swan Lagoon, and then Bal Harbor.
And then the one after that.
Entrances coming into Nassau Bay. Yep, everyone. That's what I mean. The cameras are cheap. They're really cheap. It's unbelievable. Yeah, they're I know there are concerns with people that will proliferate cameras all over the city, and I just say, well, let's just agree that right there as you turn on a stoplight to come in, Flock's going to be there. And I think that's let's just start there. Yeah, and exiting, correct. So,
Deterrent is what we need.
yeah, correct. But I also believe that, if you look at somebody who may have had a warrant on them that caused a situation that ultimately ended up with, I believe, a death of Sergeant Sullivan, if people know from the background and can flag when there are vehicles associated with violent people or things along that, criminal background, whatever, has to help our guys. Has to help our guys.
I bet you they talk to each other too, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Bad guys.
They do.
Talk to each other.
Yeah, well, if STRs are listening to a police scanner to find out when we're coming. Really bad guys probably talk more.
And as the other neighborhoods implement them,
Yeah.
if we didn't have them, it drives the criminals. They'll know which neighborhoods don't have them.
That's what I call my good neighbor policy, Paula. Go to the neighbor, neighboring city. Go to the neighboring city.
And I had said in the past that I think our police department needs to start enforcing front and back license plates, which they have not been enforcing, especially if we have this block system. Consider that.
It's one of the fundamental ones that we just have to belly up to. Yep, I agree. Becky. Anything else? Any other questions? Because I have one more announcement.
We talked about a meeting for the governance and the committees. We gave 2 dates to the staff.
I haven't heard back which ones.
End of October or the first week of November. I think that's an important meeting. And if we
It
know
really
that
is.
We need to get it out.
Yeah, it should be on council's schedule. It's November 8th.
November
Oh,
8th.
that's right.
Yeah.
It is
So-
November 8th.
Yeah.
So it's an open meeting?
Yep, it'll be a council workshop.
It'll be a council workshop.
Yep.
So anybody here that's interested, it's gonna be an important one.
Yeah, November 8th at 6 o'clock.
So let's-
here.
I see some puzzled faces. So this, with the cyber attack that we had, one of the areas that we have had real difficulty getting all the information is the terms for the committees.
Oh, the committee.
The committees.
Gotcha.
And everybody here, I think, Pete, Brian, Glenn, as well as others have all said, we'd really like to just know who's on there. And we've been trying to piece that together. And I kind of blew a hissy and just said, screw it, pardon my French. Let's get a workshop together. Let's just, we have the power. Let's just set it. We don't have the information. It's taking more time and more effort. Let's just take them one by one. How many are on there? Which ones are this year stagger? Which ones are next year stagger? Agree to it. Do a resolution. Fix it, and just do it so that we can publish it. We can be accurate, and that there's not ambiguity. So
I don't know how or why it's such a problem. When my husband, way back when you talked about the webmaster,
yeah,
he was the city webmaster for 10 years as a volunteer.
yeah.
He contacted every committee and said, I want to know you are the head. I want to know who is on your committee and expiration.
Mike Magnan used to do that too, and he put all sorts of things
Yeah,
in.
Mike did that.
Yeah,
Mike
same
and
thing.
Ben worked together.
Correct.
really
Absolutely.
well.
Absolutely.
And then that all went away.
Yeah.
Of course, unfortunately, Ken got sick, and that just, the website, God bless Tom, he took it over, and
But
Mike was
and
doing TV.
I'm just going to say, this is blocking and tackling stuff. I mean, it really is. I mean, that we've lost the paperwork to say position 1 on the planning commission gets re-upped January of 2024 or 2025. And us not having that is just unacceptable. And I don't care if we change it a little bit. We just need to agree and just set it. And I actually, if I remember, and I don't know that, so that every odd seat would be re-upped on odd years, and even seats would get even, and just set it.
So we know who our representative. There was
Correct.
a call that came in that said that we should have our city attorney at that meeting, so we know where.
Yeah, I actually emailed him about that meeting today.
Thank you.
So
that's what the purpose of the November 8th meeting
it is.
Yes.
It is.
So
So
that's all gonna be established,
And then there's going to be a resolution, and it's going to be there, and then it's going to get published.
immediately, not 4 months.
I hope we've caught up on a lot of our minutes. So I mean, that's one thing Zena's done very, very well. I mean, you mentioned here. I mean, we've got EDC that we still, but the focus was on city council. we were a year and a half behind on city council. And we even, some of them were lost, and that's just unacceptable to me. So.
Well, you have to remember, for what, a year, 2 years, that office has been in disarray.
Yeah, correct.
Well, stuff is gonna back up.
I mean, it's been in disarray for quite a while, just honestly.
And the last election proved that the committee issue is the focus of this community.
Correct.
We have a lot of young people coming in, they're interested in serving, and we have a lot of old historical people that have knowledge we need. So this is an opportunity to.
And I'll just for you, Paula, you're the one who's been pushing this, is that once we set it, we should be using not only the Compass Rose, but the website saying, hello people, on August of 2024, there are going to be 4 positions opening up on the Parks and Recreation Committee or on the special events, whatever it is, so that we can be proactive in asking. That was your idea, and I think that's a great idea.
But I think on each of these committees, we need to have people who understand how things work and what needs to be done, and really have a greater understanding than just a volunteer just moving to the community.
I agree. I mean, I think there's, I'm hoping that it's gotten to now be a very healthy, thing where between people who have served, who know, versus people who are new, who want to help.
Right.
And I think it's a mix of that, just like you said. And I kind of feel like I'm doing that on council a little bit. All due respect to my there's only people been up there not even a year and 15 months, and it's just getting used to the information and the flow.
And not to be critical, but just something that I think we need to think about as well is people coming in the community who do want to serve, they don't always know the structure of things and how you're supposed to do things correctly, the processes of everything. Is there a class? Is there some type of education that everyone?
There was the Nassau Bay 101, but I don't believe that's been.
But that doesn't tell you the process.
Correct. No, you're what I remember.
Take emotion, how to.
What I remember, and it's funny because I showed it was I don't think you were here, but because I was on council back 20, 25 years ago, and there used to be a 3-ring binder, and there used to be an assimilation that was done, and it had Robert's Rules of Order, it had the things here, and it actually had a binder that had my name on it, and I was position 5. Back here, and you actually had that there as a way to kind of go over stuff, that you had guidelines and stuff like that, which has fallen on the wayside. I don't know why, because I think it's critical. Whoever said
and
that.
Maybe there's a volunteer who could help with that.
Yeah.
Take pressure off of the city and just focus on that.
I actually, just here is last, with the whole thing with the Chris Reed and the Mike Barrett kind of things with the dog park, I actually believe that was one of a real example of how Robert's Rules of Order kept things in control for a very, very emotional issue. Right. And I think we came through with the things because people are now getting comfortable, like you said, on how do you do things with respect, and how do you do things where, you don't let emotion take over. Let me say it that way. So I thought and we came to a good place. So
Has the city actually adopted Robert's Rules?
I believe we have. There's absolutely. There is. It's in our bylaws, and correct.
Here's another thought for you then. Why don't we have a parliamentarian sitting at our city council?
It's supposed to be our city attorney.
Is he a trained parliamentarian?
He's supposed to be a trained parliamentarian. Correct. Correct. Correct.
Yes, because he was telling them, hey, you've got to do this.
Correct.
I know that,
Yeah.
telling them, but
Right.
being actually trained is kind of
Yeah.
different.
But one of the things I do want to say about the younger families coming in, it's the lifeblood of our city. I remember coming in 1995, and it's almost like these are 30-year cycles. And, we have people who move away, or for whatever reasons, a lot of people pass away here and live here to the end of their lives. We're going through a similar period right now as we were back in 1995. And you can see it with all the kids, all the young families, and it's to get, I mean, there are also people who have a whole lot of energy to do things. So things get done, they're the energy. And it comes the struggle is how do you balance that where it doesn't get tribal or emotional?
And I
I'm
believe
trying.
As a city council, we have a responsibility to protect our committee members. If they don't know that their meeting is an open meeting and it needs to be posted within a certain timeline, then they're gonna not follow the rules, and then everybody's gonna be angry at them.
When you start doing,
So we have an
that's happened.
obligation to say, here's how this committee operates. Here's your notebook, here's a copy of Robert's rules, here's where you can get parliamentary procedure training, here's how you have a chairperson. I mean, that is our responsibility as a city to protect our volunteers. And if we don't do that right, that's where volunteers get
upset.
They feel mistreated.
Yeah,
Yes,
they do. Upset.
I didn't know this, I
yeah,
didn't know
I
that.
agree.
And so I think the protection of our great people wanting to serve is critical. And by having knowledge, then they have hands-on. And that's, I hope the outcome of this committee is not just talking about committees and governance and all that stuff, but that we have a procedure in place to train.
There's also another thing too, and you heard it, we did it at last council. We made sure November 1 was the beginning of the Charter Review Committee 6-month period, just so that they have a full 6 months. Nathan knows that we need to organize day 1 on that to make sure there's there. But I believe there needs to be a lot of clarity in regards to these committees because there's so much confusion. And I really believe some rules of the game need to be put in place. Do we really need charter committees, advisory committees, and ad hoc committees? I think we need to have a little bit more discipline in what we do.
And who serves, who needs to serve, who wants to serve.
So I'm looking up here, we're about 14 minutes, 13 minutes past. I've got one last announcement. I don't know if there's any, I want to see if there's any other questions first.
So just before you get to your big announcement, I would say do all of this that Paul was talking about as well. And years ago, I went through Nassau Bay 101 myself, and you went through it too. And we were talking about bringing it back. We wanted to wait till we had Nathan on board. Now we've got stability. I know there's pent buildup for doing Nassau Bay 101 again. I bet you'd be sold out faster than a Taylor Swift concert.
I don't know about that. I mean, I've always said we punch higher than our population, on the politics side, but that's a stretch.
Strongly consider Nassau Bay 101 in addition to all else that's being done. Okay, your big announcement.
Yeah, no, it's not big.
And on the website and in the minutes.
And then, correct. And I think that whole process so that we really, trigger people so that they know what's coming up rather than have it be kind of viewed as being underground and then people think maybe there's back rooms going on or something along that line. I don't want that. I want visibility. I had promised I would do another town hall meeting. I'm going to do another town hall meeting. It's going to be November 5th. I've organized it at the Windermere again. I'm going to get you something to put on your website. I'll do that. It's going to come out today. It's going to be Sunday, November 5th between 4 and 6. And everybody's invited. We're going to post it for everybody who's listening. I really like these because there will be no action items taken, but it gives people a chance to talk with their council people, kind of give a structure on some of the things that I think we should be celebrating and some of the things that are challenges, like bulkheads are going to be a challenge. But at the end of the day, it means you can have a free flow. There's not the protocol restrictions of our council so that people can talk freely and we can all have a little bit of, as you know me, I like to have beverage and food at events just to make it a little bit more fun. We got cookies and juice. I got good juice.
Take a couple of minutes and tell everybody about your new addition to your family.
Well, thank you. And let me start with Kathy and I are very touched with how many people have reached out. We are the proud new grandparents of our second grandchild. It's a granddaughter. We have a 1-year-old grandson already who just turned 1. But she was born at 25 weeks, and she actually had her water break at 24, and very, very lucky that she was able to keep Caroline Marjorie in the oven for another week. She's doing well. She's very stable. And without embarrassing my daughter, I'll just say that every day that goes by with no news is just absolutely great news. Mom did a great job. Mom's home, and they right now we just need time and rest for little Caroline to just grow.
How many pounds was she when?
2 pounds.
2 pounds.
2 pounds. Little
That's a
thing.
preemie,
Oh my
preemie.
God.
That's a early preemie.
Pre-preemie, they call it. It's a pre-preemie. And Mama did really well. That the statistics at 25 weeks versus 24, let alone 23, are just staggering about the outlook. We still got a lot of risk, and I don't want to say more, but I just we're praying every day. So
be tolerant of our mayor.
Yeah.
He's got a lot on his plate.
got a lot on the plate. We've got our 1-year-old that we watch, and we got my mother-in-law. So we're sandwich people, and we've got our second granddaughter, our second grandchild, one of each. So and their birthdays are 5 days apart now. So they were gonna be 4 months apart. Now they're 5 days. So yeah, thank you for that, Barbara. Okay.
Good job.
Yep,
All right.
good job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.